And now I want to show you how we figure out what we're multiplying by, okay? So before, okay, I'm going back here. You got, when we had the 3%, we had $100 with 3% interest. So when we did that adding part, would you guys agree that we added the original $100, we added that back to whatever we got, our interest, right? That was kind of the two steps. We had to multiply them together first and then add it back to 100. So would you guys agree? Would you guys agree with me here that what we really did is we found out what 3% was, and then we added it back to 100% of the number we had before. Does that make sense? Because the 100 of 100, that's 100%. That's all of it. But then we had to add on the extra 3%. Does anybody not understand that? We got the 3%, but however we did it, 0.03, and then we added it back to our original amount, okay, which is 100, technically 100%. So if we did this, 100 plus 3, that would be 103%, correct? Is everybody okay with this? If we take our 3%, that however we figured it out, and we add it back to the original, that's going to be a total of 103%. Okay, so now all we have to do is take that 103% and turn it into a decimal by doing, let me change colors, by moving it over again. Okay, so if our decimal was right here, because remember 103, it's the same thing as saying like 103.0. Okay, so if we want to move that over twice now, would you guys see that would be actually 1.03? Which is basically just like what we talked about. It's our 103%. We just wrote it as a decimal. Does that make sense to you guys? So basically, whatever the interest is, you add that percentage onto 100 and then turn it into a decimal. Okay, and that decimal, that is what you multiply by. Okay, so again now the reason that I'm saying this is because if I go back to our problem now, okay, let me see if I can go back and find that word problem again. Definitely can't. All right, but again, so if I go back to our problem, we said $100. Okay, I'm going to fast forward through it because I don't have it. $100 saved. And then we're making 3% interest. We'll just say each year. Okay, so again, all we have to do was take those two numbers. Okay? We have to take, no, actually, we don't take those two numbers, sorry. What we need to do is we need to take the percentage that we're making and we need to add that on to 100. Okay, so we know that would be 103%, which would be 1.03. Okay, so now I'm going to go back and draw this table. All right, remember, this is what our table looked like. And you guys told me now we know that we just have to multiply by 1.03. Okay, if we want to make it one step. All right, so I just want to show you what this equation would look like. Just like we did before, we start with the first number, 100. We multiply it by the pattern, which would be 1.03. All right, but the question that I want to know now is what's going to go up there? What's going to be the exponent now? Because we have that happening. Remember, we always said it's just the opposite of the first x. But what if the first x is a 0? Just x. Exactly. X plus 0 or x minus 0, right, is the same as just x. Whoa. Okay, so this is like the weird one. Okay, I just showed you if it's like -2, you put +2. If it's -5, you put +5. Okay, but when it's a 0, like this, you just put an x.